All right. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Dr. Matthew Loop here with my friend Dr. Alex Vidan. You're going to find this interview today very special. Alex and I have known each other for a long time since chiropractic school, way back in 2003, 2004, and then we just reconnected at the Social Media Revenue Summit this past weekend here in Atlanta. So I'm thrilled today because I have Alex on specifically to show you how to get on television without spending a dime on advertising. This is what Alex does. He's on TV regularly in St. Louis, and he's helped many chiropractors do the same thing. Alex is also the chiropractor of the St. Louis Cardinals championship team. He's worked with high-profile athletes, but he's helping chiropractors in this profession right now. You know, if you've heard me speak for a while, one of the most important things that you can do as a chiropractor is to position yourself in the marketplace above everyone else, to elevate your status to that of every other medical professional in the community. And there are 10 steps on doing this. I shared these steps at the Social Media Revenue Summit this past weekend, and one of those steps was being featured on major media outlets. Now, you and I both know is if you try right now and you pay for advertising on television, you're going to spend $5, $10, $20,000 or more per month, depending on what time of day you decide to try to get the slot. There's so much that goes into that, and most chiropractors simply don't have the budget. Plus, honestly, the advertising looks a little bit less credible than being featured on ABC, Fox News, or NBC. So that's why I have Dr. Alex Vidan on today, and he's going to share with you some tips and strategies. So without my long-winded introduction, Alex, thank you so much for being here and sharing your message with the docs.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I mean, it's always good getting to connect with friends, and you and I, like you said, we've known each other for a long time. So yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Now you're in the Bahamas right now, right?
I am. Yeah, I'm in the Bahamas right now. So I apologize if I look a little red, and this wouldn't be the normal art that I would have at my house. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah. We're actually heading back in a few weeks. Lovely place, Paradise Island.
Yeah.
You know, work hard, play hard, right?
That's it. Go all out.
No, in this interview, what I wanted to do is just be very casual and lay out some of the biggest mistakes and pitfalls that many chiropractors they get into, especially as they try to get on major media outlets. Alex is the expert, and also some benefits. I mean, a lot of these should be brain dead obvious to you, why you'd want to be in this, why you'd want to elevate your status. People just trust what they see on television. But I'd like to actually start, Alex, just tell us some of the reasons why, or maybe give us a history on your background, how you got into this major media on television and whatnot for the listeners.
Sure. I mean, I got started because of the fact that before I even got into chiropractic or anything, I was pre-med, and it was a chiropractor that helped me because of a concussion. I had a concussion. So I had 5 to 6 headaches a week, a concussion or a migraine about once to twice a month that were debilitating for me. Finally, somebody kept on me about going to see a chiropractor. I did, and it changed everything for me. You know, from that day forward, I thought, I have got to let more people know about chiropractic. How come I didn't know about it? And because I figured I'm in tune with what's going on, and I didn't know anything about chiropractic at all. And so I just thought, whenever I become a chiropractor, I'm going to make sure more people know about this. And so I then started pursuing getting on the news, and it was abysmal at first. It was terrible. Nothing would happen until I finally figured out the formula to make it all work. Once I figured it out, then I started locking it in. And even then, you know, it took me some time to figure and really get it dialed in, but now we've got it working like clockwork. We're getting docs on, and it's amazing.
Sure. And obviously you spent a lot of money trying to get on. I mean, there's trial and error, and which kind of brings us, you know, I mean, we'll talk about a lot of stuff on this interview, but in your expertise, in your experience, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see chiropractors making that want to be on television, but they don't have the process or protocol? Like, what are the biggest pitfalls that you see?
Yeah. I mean, some of the biggest things I see are number one is that is not realizing the value that's really there. And it's a huge, huge value as far as the number of people that you're going to reach. And then, and so that seems to make sense to me. And like you said in the beginning, it's like, well, that should seem obvious enough. And I agree, but I find docs all the time that don't really appreciate it. And then all of a sudden ego starts to creep in. And that's not just with docs, that's with anybody that I see that's on the news. All of a sudden they start to feel like, well, this is owed to me. This is what should be happening. And the next thing you know, it's the news, they don't need you. They can find somebody else, you know? And so probably the biggest pitfall that I see, and this would be the number one, the biggest one, is that I would find that that docs use, or people use, these companies to get them on a third-party company. The reason that that's such a detriment to us is that whenever those third parties get you on the news, what they end up doing is they build the relationship.
Sure.
They're the ones that work the whole system. And then whenever you decide, hey, I'm done paying $2,500, $5,500 a month of a 12-month contract, right?
Yeah.
They drop you and grab somebody else.
Like a publicist is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's true.
And that just costs so much money. And another thing that I get asked about all the time that I definitely find is another pitfall. So I would say this, the first one I would say, all right, that's just something that we got to work out. The next one is really finding the publicist. That's a number one pitfall. The number two pitfall that I would say that we have is really just not completely understanding the whole backstory of what is going on in the news. Because the news, they don't send you anything. They don't tell you, this is what we expect of you, and this is what you need to do, and this is what needs to happen, and never do this, but always do that.
Sure.
But if you don't do it, we're just going to disregard you and never call you back, and your chance is over. That's it. But they don't tell you the rules before you get on there. So that's a really big pitfall that I'll see too. One that it's a huge detriment to your success as far as being on the news, and it has to be done.
Yeah, and I also have to compliment you. I have to compliment you, Alex, because every time I see you on a major news segment in St. Louis, you always appear very professional and elegant, and just like well-mannered, knowledgeable. It's one thing to know what you're talking about, but it's another thing to be like camera ready. And I think this is where a lot of doctors fail. They're not camera ready. So even if you land a news spot, there could be a situation where they don't invite you back because you weren't necessarily saying the right things, or you didn't do it a certain way. So there's certainly a lot of value in what somebody like you, a mentor, can provide other doctors, because you've been there so many times.
For sure. I don't want people to mess up that opportunity. So docs in my program, we'll go over and over and over and over to make sure that they've got it dialed in. And there's no way that something could happen short of having, a big blue bear jump out of nowhere from you that you can't be prepared for, like everything else, we've got it prepared and it's dialed in, because I've just done it so many times and helped so many people on that I want to see certain things from them, and we make sure that it happens.
What are some of the benefits, maybe some of that are obvious, some are not so obvious? I talked about the positioning element, which is really, really key, because we have this attack on chiropractic going on in certain media outlets, and we have to be on par with the MDs, with other experts, and to get on TV like the way that you teach is a great way to do that. But, what are some of the benefits the doctor can expect from doing this?
Well, I mean, number one is what you just said right there. It's positioning you in a new way to where you're the credible authority that's in your town on health, wellness, whatever it is for you. And we want to see more of that, right? We want to make sure that it's a platform that's raised and that you're on that platform. And there's only a certain number of docs that can have that in each town. So we want to make sure that you're a solid doc, you're going to fit, you're going to make sure that it works out best for you. The other thing that I would say is that as an added benefit is you get recognized around town. It's kind of cool, like I'll go to go to church and people are like, I saw you, like, yeah, cool. Or, go to the coffee shop and they say, hey, aren't you the doc that's on there, or whatever it is, or patients come in and they sit across from you and they just keep looking at you. And then all of a sudden they go, that's where I know you from. You're the one on the news. And maybe they got referred to us by a family member instead of from the news. So, you get the referrals, you get those types of things, and those things are great. That's really what it comes down to is that we want to make sure that you're helping more people in your community because it's needed. And a lot of times people have the stigma of the reservations of, I don't want to go to a chiropractor just because I don't know a good one to go to. I don't know whether or not this one's good or not. And, or all their other stuff, right? From their family to their friends telling them what not to do, what to do, and who to trust and who not to trust. When you're the one that's on TV, all of a sudden you become the trusted authority because someone that's a major outlet, a distributor of information that's trusted and a trusted source now believes in you and has you on the news. So it's automatically you're being vouched for right there. And there's nothing better.
No, that's a great point. And, Dan Kennedy always says people are more likely to buy, how does he say that? He says that people will buy you and pay the higher price as opposed to what you do. It's something along those lines, but people are more readily to buy you based on who you are as opposed to what you do. Sometimes we as chiropractors get that twisted. We think just because we're the best clinician or technician, we're going to have all these referrals. And and especially you watching this right now, you know that I'm a huge social media guy. And many of
Oh,
you,
for sure.
many probably think that I'm not really a TV guy, but that's not true, because I really understand the value of being featured on major media outlets. And again, going back to positioning, where the masses still watch TV. Yeah, they might flip around in the commercials, which is another reason why you don't
Right.
want to be on the
No.
commercials, because most people are on this bad boy
Right.
during
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
So, but if you're featured on major news segments, you're going to have a large amount of viewers locally. And like Alex said, you're going to be recognized in the bank, at the grocery store,
Yeah.
in church, or wherever you decide to go. So
Right.
that's a very, very added benefit of everything else you're doing. And especially if you can land slots like Alex teaches without having to spend any money on traditional advertising, it's just a beautiful thing. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't you try this approach?
Right. And it's one of those things that just separates you from anybody else in your community. They know that there can only be a certain number of people that are on the news as an expert. And once you're positioned that way, it's invaluable,
What I'll encourage you to do, and don't do it as of yet watching this, but you probably have shared at some point or another Dr. Alex's videos. He's done everything from what topics? Backpack safety
Oh,
to
yeah.
like
Opioids to concussion to, anything that you can think of, we've done something on pretty much.
anytime something is like trending in the news, like
Right.
literally within a week following, I'll see Alex on TV in St. Louis talking about this topic. And it's just amazing, because he's such a valuable resource for the community, which is what we want to have for just chiropractors in general, whether it's
Right.
online and offline. The goal is to hit it from many different medium, but if you can connect with a mentor like Alex, and if he actually has any openings, and if you're a good fit for him and his program, well, it's just a no-brainer, just because of the credibility, added value that it brings, and certainly the new patients that it can bring in your office. But I know, Alex, we were actually talking at dinner the other night just like with anything, sometimes there is a ramp up time, and some doctors might have a misconception that, hey, you get featured on TV one time and all of a sudden you're going to blow the doors off. I mean, in your experience, what would you say the average
Well,
average is?
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because at dinner, I think I said the same thing. I said, the first time I was on, I thought, oh, this is it. They're going to be banging down the doors trying to get in. And I was just like,
making it rain.
Oh, that was it. I was like, that's going to be it. I got one phone call from my first time on, and I was like, that's it. But certainly, we've had that to where we've had docs through the program that have, their first time on, all of a sudden they get 8 new patients.
Exactly.
That's phenomenal. Other times it's, we got one, okay. But usually what it is by the time that by the time that the public starts seeing you, your community starts seeing you, by their third time on, that's when you're starting to get those multiple, now we're getting into, almost hitting double digits, or we're getting into double digits of the number of referrals that you get in. The other thing that you have to consider is that if you do things where you get internal referrals, or if you do things where you get external referrals because you go out to a talk or you do a lecture or anything else, that level of credibility is increased greatly, right? Because we all want to believe that, like you said, we're the best at whatever our aspect is. Well, your patients want to believe that too. They want you to be the best at what it is, and they want to brag on you too. So they want to say, my doctor's the best because she helped me get rid of these headaches or whatever. And then their friends go, oh, great, they got rid of your headache. No, you see, you don't understand. She really is the best. Not just that, she's also the one that's on the news. Do you ever watch whatever news? And all of a sudden that allows, and then the person as the one listening goes, okay, well, maybe they are the best. Okay, maybe I will check them out.
Absolutely. I've heard it said that there's a pyramid, and the pyramid at the very bottom level is the generalist. The second level is the specialist, and the very top of the food chain is that celebrity specialist or the celebrity expert. Now, you can look at somebody like in the mainstream, Dr. Oz. Is Dr. Oz really the best cardiothoracic surgeon on the planet? No, he's not, obviously. But because he's been featured in major media outlets, he's connected with celebrities attached to people like Oprah has his own TV shows, interviewed and featured with other celebrities. Like, and once you're on television too, you're going to meet a lot of high profile people.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have that influence, that celebrity attachment, just like Alex has. I can tell you about many celebrities that he's met, but that's a whole new level of credibility, plus the power of that like celebrity expert. And there's arguably one of the fastest ways to reach that point is to land these type of segments.
For sure. It just sets you into a whole different category, and that's not like, it's people's perception. So I want to make sure that we get that straight. That's not like a patting myself on the back.
It's not what we say. Yeah.
No, it's not what we say.
No,
It's what people's perceptions are. Like, people's perceptions are the fact that, well, Dr. Oz is the best because he's the one that's on TV. Mm-hmm. So because of the fact that you're the one that's on the news, not because you're paying for commercials, but because you're the one that's on the news, automatically you must be better than somebody else because you're the featured health and wellness expert. You're the featured person that's on there as the expert on whatever that topic is. Mm-hmm. And so people's perception of that, which is reality, perception is reality, all of a sudden becomes, well, then that's who I've got to go see because I want to see the best, right?
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to go to number 37. They all want to go to number 1, right?
Obviously. Yeah.
Right.
So from my experience, and I've been very fortunate to be, obviously a chiropractor since 2004, but I know a lot of influencers in the profession. And before, like I said, I knew you from school. Then I heard about your program. I knew you were getting on TV. And then obviously I saw you doing it, working with other docs and influencers in the profession. So 100% unequivocally, Alex is the go-to person in chiropractic if you want to get on television without spending any money on advertising. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because of the results that he's garnered for other clients of mine, other influencers. So if you have any desire at all to land a slot on television the right way, to do it the right way without spending a lot of money, you need to talk with Alex. And what I want to do is, Alex, if you could just tell us just a little bit about your program, what it is and who specifically it's for. I know you can't accept everyone, obviously. There's criteria, but just give us some idea and insight about what you offer.
Sure. So what we offer is we offer that whenever docs follow we have basically a 12-step process of getting you on the news. And those 12 steps, we chunk it all down for you to make it to where it's really easy to digest. Mm-hmm. And we all do it all webinar based so that you can stay at home, but I give you all the homework to do along the way. And when we're doing that, it's one of those things where docs follow the process, they get on the news. And that's what we see. Obviously, we can't say it's 100% guaranteed, but I always do all my homework reconnaissance ahead of time to make sure that we find out, all right, is your market even one that's going to be a good one? I'm not going to accept you in my program if it's not going to be a good market, if there's not a chance for us to get you on there. And I always talk about that with docs too. I'm going to talk to docs that make sure that they're a good fit too, because obviously some docs are going to be a better fit than others, and that's just part of it. And so we want to make sure that whoever's on is going to be a good fit, because this is not just about the program. This is really about, your practice and the profession. And I want to make sure that we have solid docs out there getting on there. So basically we break it all down for you. We chunk down those 12 steps for you so that you then have access to all that. It's all online. It's all recorded for you. They can then go in. It's live webinars with me as well as.
So they have access to you. So they have access to you. They're like mentor anytime, right?
You've got access to me as soon as you get on. So most docs, they get on pretty soon right after. As soon as they get on, what we end up doing is you and I jump on a call. And when we jump on that call is going to be anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half, because I want to make sure that you know exactly what you need to do. You're going to be prepped out for that 3 to 5 minute segment like none other has prepped you before. You're going to make sure that you know exactly what to say, not memorized, but that you own the information, not just learn it.
Gotcha. So you give them an outline and like potentially, because this is not my area of expertise, but in terms of like the topics that the media is looking for, you handle
we handle all
you do
of
all the investigative work. Yeah.
We do everything. So we basically hand it all to you on a silver platter and say, this is it. You take this and run with it. This is what you need to say. These are the things that you need to stay away from saying, like never say that stuff. Always make sure you add this in. We do all that for the doc. So it's just done for them. They just show up, deliver the goods and leave. So, and that's it. And then we use, like you and I have talked about, we use some of those strategies that you teach on social media aspect to make sure that docs get more return on what it is that they do.
To leverage those appearances. Because here's the deal. And I've, in terms of major media appearances, those are minimal for me, but I spoke at Harvard, and Harvard is another major media platform.
Sure.
You can land a gig like that. So you need to leverage these TV slots like crazy. Even on Facebook, because you can promote them. And again, even if you're promoting a television slot with like CBS or Fox News logo, ABC Atlanta or wherever, that's still huge credibility. So it's not like this is a one and done thing where you get the credibility in the patient one time. You can use those segments over and over in your promotion. Not to mention, if you have a really good segment, this is where I love chiropractors, because we love to share each other's content
Hmm.
online anyway, and that's going
Yeah,
to open it up to a whole new audience. And
sure.
I've seen things snowball and avalanche just from that alone, and you might be
Right.
very surprised with all the traffic that you're garnering and the recognition
Yeah.
on top of the new patients. But if you
Right.
could, I mean, because obviously, you've worked with a lot of doctors, give us some examples of, you know, uh, some of your students and what they've done, and whether how in terms of
Sure.
time periods. I know everyone
Yeah.
is not the same. Sometimes
Right.
there's a ramp up time, but
Sure.
give us some examples of previous clients and what they've done.
Well, I mean, you and I both know Paul Reed, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
ChiroFest.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Paul Reed, he did the program. He got on as soon as he started following the process.
Hmm.
Got on right away. He's been on now. He's been on once a month now for the past 3 months, and that's really our goal, is to make sure that
Nice.
docs are on at least 3 times,
Hmm.
right? The last one he did, if you just go and check him out, I mean, the last one he did was on concussions, and he did a great job, and
Yeah.
he followed the process. He did everything as far as what we gave him to do, as far as the pitch to the
Hmm.
producers, and make sure that he's on there, and
Hmm.
make sure that he followed those exact speaking content
Hmm.
that what he should be following. Because there's certain things that, and I say that in a specific way, like there's certain things that we can say on TV and certain things that you can't say, as opposed to the things that you can
Sure.
say in a talk that you can't say. It's much easier to say certain things in a talk as opposed to live TV. So we have to be
Sure.
really specific with what we say and how we present things on TV, because we want you to go back. It doesn't do anybody any good if you get on
Exactly.
one time, or all right, I got on 3 times and that's it.
And one of the
So,
things that I know we talked about too is that the media loves media. So once you're
oh
featured
yeah,
multiple times, it's a lot easier to land other interview spots, and that
for
can
sure.
parlay into even major opportunities. Now,
Yep.
I've seen people that started off locally, in particular, that have
Mhm.
just, that snowball's trickled and
Snowball.
turned into an avalanche, and bam,
Yeah.
you're on Good Morning America. I've seen
Right.
some pretty interesting things happen,
Yeah.
but it all started. You don't just get on there
No.
like without having any
No.
media appearances beforehand.
No, and that's one thing that people don't understand too. You have to basically build think of it as like you're building up your library for that. They need to
Yeah.
see proof
Hmm.
that you can actually deliver the goods first.
Yeah.
So, you've got different tiers of that, and those types of things that you're trying to get on at the very top. That's the top tier. And when you build up enough of a book, then you can start doing that, if that's what you want to do, if
Sure.
that's your goal, if that's your drive. Most of us aren't going to get that most of our are going to get patients from that, if that's what your goal is. If your goal is to do something more on a national level, then that's a different type of a platform
Mhm.
that we can talk about too.
Sure, sure, sure. But everything starts at the local level too. And I know,
Exactly.
like, you and I have also talked about chiropractors and the mindsets about
Hmm.
playing much, much bigger, because this
Yeah.
message is so large. And I
Right.
wish more doctors just had, I would say, this massive growth mindset like you and I talk
Right.
about, because the world is at our fingertips, especially when you harness major media
Yep.
along with social media.
Yes.
I mean, you can create some amazing things, not just in practice, but
Yeah.
then you can take your message, chiropractic, to a much greater audience, like what you've done, like what I've been able to do. So
Right.
I'm a big advocate. Now, you talked a little bit about what the program is and how you
Mhm.
provide just 100% support and whatnot. And it's,
Everything.
it's through webinar training, but also what's it going to do for the doctor? Like
Mhm.
very simply, what is this program going to do for the doc?
It's going to bring them celebrity status. It's going to elevate their practice. It's going to elevate their stature within that too, and get them new
Mhm.
patients. I mean,
Mhm.
grow their bottom line. You have to imagine that. uh, So I'm here at the Bahamas right now, right? We're here for a week. We're
Uh-huh.
still having new patients at the practice,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
it's because the fact that we're leveraging that credibility and leveraging those opportunities to make sure that we get the most out of it.
Mhm.
And, I use what you've taught me throughout the process, right? So I've done the same type of thing. I don't ever claim to be the social media guy by any stretch of the imagination. I know what the news stations don't want to see and what they do want to see whenever it comes to that. But
Sure.
I've got to make sure that we follow what you teach with that too, to make sure that we get the most out of it as well. We want to leverage all those things
Mhm.
so that we get the new patients, so that you can be wherever you want to be. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter where it is, but you can
Sure.
take your family out and get to do whatever it is that you want to do and help more people in your community.
Absolutely. And, in terms of, because we talked about Paul, like, give us another example of somebody that just maybe the snowball turned into an avalanche, that one of your clients or whatever, and that they're
Yeah,
seeing some good results. I mean, I know that we've worked with
sure.
a lot of mutual clients, but
Yeah, for sure. So let's look, Holly Lovelace, her and her husband, Kyle Lovelace, they're great people. They practice on the East Coast. They're just awesome, awesome people, big heart.
Mhm.
And, she got on the news within 2 weeks of doing the program. She got
Mhm.
right on the news. And then not only that, but they had I wouldn't say their first time they got on, they had 6 new patients. She wasn't the one that had 8, but she had 6 new patients. We've got
Beautiful.
another one, Amanda D. Richardson. She practices down in Tennessee. She got on within a 5-month timeline. She got on, 18 times she was on within 5 months. That's crazy. Like the amount of exposure garnished from that is huge, right?
And once you establish that brand equity in the marketplace, that celebrity status, what happens is your referrals exponentially multiply because you are the go-to person.
Right.
So this is not, I mean, this can certainly benefit you in the short term, and I've seen results, but think long-term with this too, because now if you brand yourself as that celebrity expert in your community, this will benefit you for years and years and years and years to come. And then you also have that extra level of positioning. So tell us actually who this program is not right for, so we can kind of qualify right now. I mean,
sure. This is not going to be for a doc that wants to sit back, that doesn't want to represent not just themselves, their family, their practice, but chiropractic too. If that's not on your radar, this is not for you. This is not for somebody that we can get over the things like the public speaking part, but we've got to see your personality come out, because my personality is going to be different than yours and different than everybody else's. And that's fine. We have people that are more reserved and quiet, and they're doing great too. We've got Jacob Young. He practices north of me in St. Louis, like north of St. Louis. And he's a great guy. He's more reserved, laid back, just smooth as anything, just kind of takes it easy with it all. And he does a great job. He's getting people through the practice because of his spots on the news, and then leveraging that too. So it's about you being comfortable with who you are and making sure that we get that to shine out. As far as whatever you are, that's what we want to come through on the news.
Sure. And this is also not a get-rich-quick proposal.
No.
I mean, even, we try to filter those people out too.
Yeah,
because
this is not for those docs.
Media is very powerful, but every market is obviously different, just like social media. I mean, I can tell you amazing case studies the first month. Sometimes it doesn't happen until the 6th month. But there's no denying the power of television, especially in this era that we live in. People still are glued to the tube, and they trust what they see on TV. That's not going to change in our lifetime. Even with the rise of all the other platforms, that is still, pretty much the same.
Yep. And I completely agree. That's one of those things that type of, that is never going to change in our lifetime, right? It's not going to be one of those things that all of a sudden TV, being on the news, that kind of stuff just goes away. It's the thing that allows you to separate yourself from other people though.
Absolutely. So like what, I guess, who is this right for? So we talked about who it's not.
The people that it's right for are the people that want to take things to a whole other level, that are looking to expand their practice, that are looking to grow, that are looking to provide for themselves, their family, their practice on a whole other level, that are comfortable with the idea that they're going to be not only representing themselves in their practice, but also chiropractic too, in a way that they deem necessary and are comfortable with. I mean, that's one of those things where we all get to kind of write our own script as far as that goes, but you've got to figure out what's right for you and what's not. Docs that want to grow, this is going to work for you. Docs that are okay with saying, okay, look, it's not going to be just the first time I get on and all of a sudden it's a get rich quick and I'm done and I'm out, that realize, okay, it might take me a month, 2 months, 3 months to make sure that I get the results and the return on the investment. But that's what we want for you. The ultimate goal is get the exposure. Once we get you the exposure, we separate you as a credible source as far as an expert goes. They need to be people that are wanting to be an expert in their field and make sure that they stand out.
Sure, absolutely. So if, what's the next step if a chiropractor on this wants to either speak with you about this program, or what is it, what do you normally do? Because let's face it, you're going to get on television. I don't care where you go. Even if you hired a publicist, at minimum, you'll probably pay a couple $1,000 a month, but I know publicists that charge $10,000 a month.
Me too.
Depending on, where you go.
The market.
And if you were to land some spots, I used to run late night TV ads way back in the day and pay between, I don't know, like $100 and $150 per 30-second slot.
Wow, that was cheap.
Which is really cheap, and you're not going to do that anymore.
No.
But that was really, really late night stuff.
Yeah.
And then throughout the day, it was something like 5 or 10, at least from what I recall, in the Atlanta market for 30 to 1 minute slots, depending on where you go. My sister used to be a media sales rep here in the city, so I know these numbers pretty well. And she would even tell me, listen, if you want to get famous, it's going to cost you about $250,000. We can run commercials paid this time. She had it down to a science, but that's with paid advertising through TV. It's not the same thing. No. So for what you offer in the investment for docs and your track record,
Yeah.
Again, I personally think it's a no-brainer, but if somebody wants to take it to the next level, they want to speak with you, how does it work? What's the normal price of the program and all that other good stuff?
Sure. So typically what we end up doing is you go to Tick TV, so TICTV.rocks.
Okay.
So Tick TV rocks. You'll go on there, put your name, email, phone number, and then what I would say to do is to use in the comment section, put loop. So I'm going to have them put your last name,
Okay.
put loop in there. So typically the program itself, it's over essentially the program we do. I'll just kind of give you a real quick snapshot too. We do it over a 3-month period where it's over 12 weeks where we're just, you and I just intensely working together. Then
it's like
over
a private coaching program too.
It's a private coaching program. Yeah. And so then over the next 9 months after that, you have access on to me as well as in a private group. So for the next 9 months after that, we do that too, where we keep on giving you the ideas. We keep on giving you the pitches. We keep giving you everything. So that for that whole program to cover you for that whole time, it's $99.99 for that.
Okay.
But any doc that's heard about me through you, what I do is I'll take off $1,000 off of that. So just put loop in the comments. We'll take $1,000 off of that, and we'll make sure that we get them on and make sure that it works and make sure that we do the reconnaissance that we need to do and then go from there.
So essentially you've got a lifetime membership where if something changes, I mean, you're always going to throw in something new or the newest trending topic for the doctor. Like, hey doc, this is really working now.
Right.
Let's run with this one. You kind of give, tell them to pull the trigger.
Right. So I give them all those things like, hey, right now, this is really hot. So we've got to make sure that we cover this. Hey, if you're in this area of the country, this is going to be hot for you. But if you're in that area of the country, it's not going to work for you. Or, hey, you're in this area, so this is going to work out really well because this is what's happening on the East Coast and what's happening with sports teams right over there right now. Gotcha. Whatever it is, right? Or this is a trending thing that's happening with babies right now. So we've got to make sure we can all talk about that. As long as you like babies in your practice, this is going to work, right? Like that kind of a thing. We do all of that for you. So that work is done. It's essentially, it's turnkey for you. You literally just have to show up. I can't do the interview for you.
Okay. So like what he said, the next step is to apply for the program. And unfortunately, I mean, your success rate is 100%, right? For those that are,
I mean, as long as they do the program, they follow the steps, it's 100%.
Yeah. If you're accepted into this program, Alex has a very high acceptance rate because of who he's worked with and absolutely. Yeah. And if he doesn't feel you're right for the program, he's not going to accept you in, but it doesn't hurt to have a conversation because this can certainly benefit you in today's time. And it's one of those ultimate positioning factors. Your goal should always be to elevate your status in the marketplace because that's at the end of the day, who your patients are going to choose. And if you really want to level the playing field, this goes a long way because now you are featured with other medical doctors, with other medical specialists that are on TV, and people trust who they see on TV, especially when it's through intelligent interview segments like this, not just spammy advertising commercials, intelligent professional segments like what you're offering to the docs and how to get on. So very cool. So you said ticktv.rocks.
Ticktv.rocks. Yes, sir.
You complete the application. And obviously you have any questions, Alex, where can they reach you at?
Any questions, you can reach me there too. If you want to hit me up, you can hit me up on anything, Facebook, Insta, any of that kind of stuff. I'm always available. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey man, appreciate you being on this interview today. I wanted to deliver value for the docs, and we've been chatting the past couple of weeks, and I really thought this was an immense value for not just my subscribers, but the profession as a whole. We always got to be elevating our game, especially because of the major media attacks. So
for sure,
we just have to keep pushing and pushing. And this is one of the ways, if we do it correctly, where we can certainly level the playing field.
Yeah. It's amazing that, you mentioned that too, about the attacks that we go under. My news station, because of the relationship that I've developed with them over the past almost decade, nearly 200 segments, they didn't pick up anything on any of that kind of stuff, and it's because of the fact that they know, they're like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't right. They had something, I'll say, like they had something on the tickler, like on the bottom, just on the scroll. They put one thing on there and that was kind of it, but they didn't go with any stories. They didn't go with any features. They didn't go with anything. It was literally mentioned like, okay, we reported it. We're moving on.
That's powerful.
And that is, and that's the kind of impact that we can have. It's not to say, oh, well, we're changing what people say is news or not. It's literally opening up people's minds and perspectives to allow them to then say, okay, does this really seem like it's legit or not? And I feel like most of us as chiropractors felt like our voices weren't heard as far as it being legit. And I want to make sure that happens across the US. It's my personal goal to have a solid chiropractor that's on the news across the US. It would make a huge impact as far as the tipping point.
Without question. And just like what you said, just being featured so many times. Now you're actually, the producers are kind of second guessing a little bit these other stories. Like, well, we've got this expert on, he's delivering this amazing information. It's
Yeah.
a high rated program all the time. Well, do
Yeah.
we really want to give massive airtime to this questionable piece of content?
Right.
I really like that. I can't say enough great things about you, what you've done for the
Thank
profession,
you,
and
man.
how many docs that you've helped. So again, if you are on this webinar, you're watching this right now, get in touch with Alex. He is the guy to go to for chiropractors that want to get on TV without spending any money on advertising. Alex, thanks again for joining me today. Hope you're having a great time in the Bahamas. I'm actually
Definitely.
representing my Atlantis shirt, by the
Hey,
way.
look at you. All
How
right.
funny is that? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be hitting the water park tomorrow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So anyway,
Man, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you so much for what you're doing for our profession as well, and for chiropractic. I mean, it's so needed just to have us get our message out there, and like you said, elevating ourselves in a whole new status, in a whole new way. And I appreciate all you do too. I mean, we've been friends a long time, so it's always great to see somebody helping out and doing things on a whole other level. So thank you, man.
likewise. All right, docs, go to ticktv.rocks and
Yeah.
let Alex know if you have any questions, and certainly take advantage of his offer. He only works with a limited amount of people because
That's it.
his schedule fills up. And
Right.
ultimately, if you need anything from me, you know where to find me on social media at Matthew Loop. Have a fantastic day, and we will talk to you soon. Ciao.